Welcome back to the channel. Rare coins history. Pocket could actually be worth a small fortune? Well, what if I told you that one of these modern quarters, with a tiny mint mark that most people overlook, has shocked collectors by being valued at an astonishing amount? That's right, a coin that most people spend without a second thought could be hiding a secret that makes it worth thousands. Today, we're diving deep into the story behind the 2022 Washington quarter dollar, how to spot the valuable versions, and why collectors across the country are hunting for this modern treasure right now. Let's start from the beginning. The Washington quarter has been a symbol of American heritage since 1932, featuring the profile of George Washington, the nation's first president. But over the decades, this coin has gone through several transformations, from silver to copper nickel, from classic designs to commemorative editions, and 2022 brought one of the most talked about changes in recent years. Instead of the long-standing front-facing portrait of Washington designed by John Flanagan, the U.S. Mint introduced a brand new obverse design by sculptor Laura Garden Fraser, originally created in 1931 but never used until now. In this new version, Washington faces to the right, a direction he had never faced before on a circulating coin. Now, this small design change may seem simple, but to coin enthusiasts and collectors, it marked a huge shift, and with any major design update, there's always the potential for minting errors. That's where things start to get interesting for the 2022 Washington quarter. In 2022, the Mint produced several variations as part of the American Women Quarters program, honoring historical figures such as Maya Angelou, Sally Ride, and Wilma Mankiller. Each design carries its own unique beauty and symbolism, but collectors soon noticed that certain mint mark varieties and small imperfections were turning some of these quarters into rare collector's items. The mint marks tell us where a coin was produced: P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, and S for San Francisco. Most circulation coins come from Philadelphia and Denver, but it's not just about the location, it's about what can happen during the minting process. Errors like double dies, die cracks, off-center strikes, and die chips have made some 2022 quarters extremely valuable. For example, certain Maya Angelou quarters have been found with extra metal raised near Washington's mouth or on his hairline, commonly referred to as a drooling George or cud error. These coins, while amusingly named, can fetch hundreds of dollars even in circulated condition. The Denver Mint, especially, is known for producing coins with slight variations, and the 2022 D Washington quarter has become one of the most fascinating coins to study. Some examples have been found with dramatic die breaks, filled mint marks, or unusual doubling that gives extra thickness to the letters and design. The S-proof versions struck in San Francisco for collectors also have a mirror-like finish, and when found in perfect condition, they too command premium prices. But it's the accidental errors and perfect mint state coins from circulation that have collectors buzzing with excitement. So, what makes one 2022 quarter so valuable while others are just pocket change? It all comes down to three major factors: rarity, condition, and error type. First, rarity. Not all errors are created equal. Some minting mistakes happen on just a handful of coins before the issue is corrected. These few coins that survive become treasures. Second, condition. Coins that have never been used, showing no signs of wear and still shining with their original luster, are worth far more than those that have passed through countless hands. Third, the error type. Dramatic and easily visible errors, like a die clash or an off-center strike, are much more desirable than minor imperfections. Now imagine finding a 2022 D Washington quarter with a bold minting error, perhaps a clear double die on Washington's I or Liberty, or a large die chip on the reverse design. These are not fantasy stories. Real collectors have already discovered such coins in everyday pocket change and bank rolls. Some have even sold their finds at online auctions for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on the severity and visibility of the error. If you're searching through your coins, pay close attention to the details. Use a magnifying glass or even your phone camera to zoom in. Look carefully at George Washington's face, check for extra metal or doubling on his eye, his hair, or the lettering around him. Examine the mint mark closely. If it looks filled, misaligned, or doubled, that could be a clue. Turn the coin over and inspect the reverse design. whether it's Maya Angelou spreading her arms beneath a bird in flight or another design from the series. Check for missing details, cracks, or raised metal blobs that weren't meant to be there. Another thing collectors love about the 2022 quarters is that they represent a turning point in US coinage, a fresh design combined with modern minting technology. This combination often produces transitional varieties or test strikes that don't follow the normal pattern. Sometimes, these coins slip into circulation accidentally, and that's where lucky finders can strike gold. Grading also plays a huge role in value. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale, with MS standing for mint state. A 2022 quarter graded MS 68 or higher is incredibly rare, especially if it has a striking error. Most circulated coins might grade MS 60 or below, but the closer your coin is to perfection, the higher its value climbs. A coin certified by PCGS or NGC with a visible error can turn a few cents into a life-changing discovery. Think about it, a coin minted just a few years ago, still being used every day, could be worth more than a rare antique coin from the 1800s, all because of a simple, unexpected mistake. That's the magic of numismatics, where history, art, and luck all come together in the palm of your hand. Today we're diving deep into one of America's most overlooked treasures, the 1991 Washington quarter dollar. This coin might look ordinary at first glance, but there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. Hidden among millions of these coins are rare varieties, minting errors, and perfectly preserved examples that collectors are willing to pay astonishing prices for. So stay tuned, because by the end of this story, you'll discover just how much this small piece of metal could be worth, and it might just make you look at your pocket change in a whole new way. The Washington quarter is one of the most iconic coins in United States history. First introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington, this coin has seen countless design changes, composition shifts, and minting techniques over the decades. But by 1991, the quarter had entered a new era, no longer made of silver, but of a copper-nickel-clad composition. While this made the coin more durable for circulation, it also opened the door to small but fascinating minting variations. And for collectors, those variations can mean big money. Now, let's travel back to 1991. The U.S. Mint was producing Washington quarters at 3 major locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint had its own mark, a small P, D, or S placed just beside Washington's ponytail on the obverse side. Most people never even notice these tiny letters, but coin collectors know that mint marks are the key to unlocking a coin story. The Philadelphia Mint produced the most coins, making its quarters the most common, while Denver struck millions more with the D mint mark. San Francisco, on the other hand, focused primarily on proof coins, specially made for collectors, with mirror-like finishes that showcase the finest details of the design. But not all quarters are created equal. Even among billions of coins, a few rare ones stand out because of minting mistakes. During production, things like double die errors, off-center strikes, die cracks, or filled letters can occur. Sometimes, these flaws happen when the minting die, used to press the coin's design, becomes worn out or misaligned. These imperfections are unintentional, but that's what makes them special. In 1991, a few such coins left the mint before the errors were detected. Those rare pieces, with visible doubling on the lettering or subtle cracks across George Washington's face, became the stuff of legend in the collecting world. Collectors especially look for double-die obverse coins, where you might see faint doubling on the word "Liberty," "In God We Trust," or even on Washington's eye and profile. There are also quarters with reverse errors, where the eagle's feathers or lettering show clear signs of doubling or misprinting. These rare variations can fetch hundreds, even thousands, depending on their clarity and condition. Now, condition is everything in the world of coin collecting. A coin that's been through years of circulation, scraped and worn, might still be interesting, but it won't bring in the big bucks. On the other hand, a 1991 quarter in mint state condition, meaning it looks exactly as it did when it left the mint, without scratches, dirt, or wear, can be worth a small fortune. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale by professional grading services like PCGS and NGC. A grade above MS-65 is considered exceptional, and anything higher, like MS-68 or MS-69, can skyrocket in value. Proof coins, especially those made in San Francisco, are also highly collectible. These coins were struck multiple times to ensure sharp details and mirror-like surfaces. If you ever come across a 1991 Washington quarter with flawless reflection and no blemishes, it could be a true gem in your collection, but what really excites collectors are the unique era varieties that come from this year. For instance, some 1991 D quarters have been found with die breaks near the rim, giving the coin a raised bump or cud effect. Others show partial collar strikes, where the coin wasn't perfectly aligned during minting, creating a distorted edge. And a few even display missing clad layers, where part of the coin's nickel coating is absent, exposing the copper core beneath. These error coins are incredibly rare, and incredibly valuable. It's amazing how a simple factory error, invisible to most people, can transform an everyday coin into a collector's dream. Imagine picking up a handful of change and spotting one of these rare quarters. You might think it's just another 25 cents, but in reality, it could be the key to a massive payday. Another factor that makes 1991 quarters intriguing is that they represent the final decade of the traditional Washington quarter design before the U.S. Mint launched the 50-state quarters program in 1999. This gives coins from the early 1990s a nostalgic appeal, especially for collectors who focus on the pre-statehood years. It's the last stretch of an era where the eagle proudly spread its wings on the reverse, symbolizing freedom and strength, before the design changed to highlight individual states. So, how can you tell if you've got one of the valuable 1991 quarters? Start by checking the mint mark and overall condition. Look for crisp, sharp details on Washington's hair, face, and lettering. Examine the reverse side closely, focus on the eagle's feathers, the arrows, and the branches. If you see doubling, cracks, or unusual raised spots, it's worth taking a closer look under magnification. Coins that appear slightly thicker, have odd edges, or color variations could also signal minting anomalies. If you find something that looks unusual, you can always consult a coin expert or submit your coin for grading. Professional certification not only confirms the authenticity of your coin but also significantly increases its market value. Once a coin is slabbed and graded, it becomes a verified collector's item. Over the years, collectors have reported finding 1991 quarters in their pocket change, tucked away in old jars, or sitting in forgotten coin albums, only to discover later that they were holding something worth far more than 25 cents. The stories of these discoveries continue to fuel the excitement among coin hunters everywhere, and here's the best part: the value of a coin like this can go up over time. As fewer pristine examples remain, demand continues to rise, and the market for high-quality or error coins keeps growing. That's why even modern coins like the 1991 Washington quarter have become hot targets in the numismatic community. Today we're talking about one of the most intriguing coins in American history, the 1966 Washington quarter dollar. This small piece of metal, often passed from hand to hand for decades, could actually be hiding incredible value if you know what to look for. So stay tuned, because by the end of this story, you might want to start checking your change a little more carefully. You could be holding a fortune without even realizing it. The year 1966 was a turning point for American coinage. Just a year earlier, in 1965, the United States Mint made a historic decision that changed the composition of coins forever. Up until that point, quarters had been made of 90% silver and 10% copper, giving them both beauty and intrinsic value. But due to rising silver prices, the government decided to eliminate silver from regular circulation coins. Starting in 1965, quarters were made of a copper-nickel clad composition instead, with a pure copper core sandwiched between layers of nickel. This change was meant to make coins cheaper to produce, but it also created a fascinating era for collectors, because transitional mistakes and minting anomalies began to occur during the switch. That's where the 1966 Washington quarter comes into the picture. These coins were struck during a time of massive adjustment, when the U.S. Mint was transitioning fully from silver to clad coins. There were no mint marks used in 1965, 1966, or 1967, an unusual choice by the mint designed to discourage hoarding. During this period, collectors and the general public were uncertain about the new coinage, and the mint wanted to keep production flowing without delays caused by people saving every new issue. That means that even though coins were struck in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, none of them carried a mint mark during those 3 years, but despite lacking a mint mark, the 1966 quarter holds immense historical significance. It represents the birth of the modern quarter era, a symbol of the changing times in American economics and minting technology. What's more fascinating is that some coins from 1966 exhibit features that shouldn't exist. There have been reports of transitional era coins, quarters that somehow were struck on leftover silver planchets from 1964 or 1965. These coins have a distinct ring and a slightly different color tone compared to the regular copper-nickel clad version. If you find one of these rare silver composition quarters from 1966, you might just be holding an extraordinary mistake that can fetch thousands of dollars from serious collectors. Collectors are always drawn to the Washington quarter because of its timeless design. The obverse side shows the familiar profile of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan and inspired by a bust created by Jean-Antoine Houdon in the late 18th century. It's a portrait that captures strength, leadership, and dignity, the very essence of America's first president. The reverse features the proud American bald eagle with wings spread wide, clutching arrows and olive branches, symbolizing both readiness for defense and the pursuit of peace. This design remained unchanged for decades, and the 1966 issue stands out as one of the last of the truly classic-looking quarters before the mint began experimenting with commemorative and modern series. Now, here's where it gets really exciting. Even though the majority of 1966 quarters were struck in huge numbers, over 800 million in total, finding one in mint condition is not as easy as it sounds. These coins were made during a period when quality control wasn't as precise as it is today. Many were struck hastily, showing weak details or worn dies. Others went through years of circulation, losing their luster and crisp design. But a small number of these coins, preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition, have survived the test of time. Those are the coins collectors dream of finding. A 1966 Washington quarter graded mint state 67 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC can easily command a premium price. The sharpness of Washington's hairlines, the clarity of the eagle's feathers, and the brilliance of the coin's luster all play major roles in determining its value. Even tiny details like contact marks or surface tone can make a significant difference. A coin with full strike and flawless surfaces is like a time capsule from over half a century ago, a perfect example of mid-20th century minting craftsmanship, but the real thrill comes when error coins enter the conversation. The 1966 quarters are known to have several rare and interesting minting errors that make them especially valuable. There are examples of double-die obverse coins, where the inscriptions such as, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," appear slightly doubled when viewed closely under magnification. Others have off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing because the blank planchet wasn't perfectly aligned in the press. Still others show die cracks, cuds, or even partial collar errors, where the edge of the coin looks uneven or partially smooth. These small mistakes give each coin a unique personality, and to collectors, rarity and uniqueness means serious money. One of the most sought-after error types from 1966 is the transitional silver planchet strike. These coins weigh slightly more than regular clad quarters, around 6.25 grams compared to 5.67 grams, and they have a subtle silver shine that stands out when compared to a typical copper-nickel coin. If you suspect your 1966 quarter might be silver, you can weigh it or listen to the sound it makes when gently tapped. Silver coins have a distinct, bell-like ring, while clad coins sound duller. Such transitional errors are rare because the mint quickly used up old planchets, but a few always seem to slip through unnoticed, making them treasures for those lucky enough to find one. Proof coins from this year are another area of interest. While no official proof sets were made for circulation during 1966, there were special mint sets released for collectors. These coins, struck with greater care and polished dies, have a distinctive satin-like finish. High-grade examples from these sets, especially those with perfect surfaces and deep mirrors, can fetch substantial premiums. Now let's talk about how collectors and enthusiasts identify and grade these coins today. The grading scale runs from poor, P1, all the way to mint state, MS70. A typical 1966 quarter that has seen normal circulation might be worth just its face value, but one in pristine, untouched condition, especially with a visible error, can be worth hundreds, even thousands. Professional grading adds credibility, ensuring that your coin's authenticity and condition are verified by experts. The 1966 quarter is also a sentimental coin for many Americans. It represents an era of cultural change, space exploration, and innovation. It was a time when the country was preparing to land on the moon, and the quarter itself was part of everyday life, from payphones and vending machines to family road trips across Route 66. Holding one of these coins today feels like holding a tiny piece of American history, but among all the millions produced, a few stand out above the rest, those with exceptional quality, flawless preservation, or extraordinary minting mistakes. These are the coins that command eye-popping prices at auctions, surprising even seasoned collectors. Every so often, one appears out of nowhere, a coin found in an old drawer, a collection inherited from a relative, or a roll of change from the bank, and when it's examined under magnification, it reveals the details that make it special. And here's where the story becomes truly astonishing. One of these 1966 Washington quarter dollars, in flawless mint condition and with a remarkable minting error, was recently valued by experts at an incredible $58,000. Yes, $58,000 for a single quarter that could still be sitting in someone's old coin jar right now. Today we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating coins from American history, the United States of America Washington quarter dollar from 1967. This seemingly ordinary coin, often overlooked or spent without a second thought, might just be one of the hidden treasures in your change jar. Many collectors and coin enthusiasts are now realizing that some of these 1967 quarters, depending on their condition, mint errors, and rarity, can be worth far more than 25 cents, and you won't believe how high the value can climb for the right one. Let's go back for a moment to the late 1960s, a time of transition for the U.S. Mint. The year 1967 came right after the great silver shortage that shook American coinage. Just a few years earlier, quarters contained 90% silver, but by 1965, the mint had stopped producing silver quarters for circulation. Instead, they switched to a copper-nickel-clad composition, a change that confused many people at the time. Because of this, many collectors began hoarding old silver coins, leaving the new 1967-clad quarters largely ignored. But today, that ignorance has turned into opportunity, because some of these coins have become rare collectibles with incredible value. Unlike other years, the 1967 Washington quarter doesn't have a visible mint mark. That's because during this time, the U.S. Mint decided to omit mint marks altogether to discourage hoarding. All 1967 quarters were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, even though there's no P mark on them. However, what makes this coin exciting for collectors are the unique varieties, striking errors, and high-grade examples that have been discovered over the years. Some of these error coins are the result of double strikes, off-center minting, and even rare planchet mistakes, making each one a potential jackpot for collectors who know what to look for. One of the most sought-after 1967 Washington quarters is the so-called full steps variety on the reverse side, which features the image of Monticello. The clarity of those steps indicates a strong, well-struck die, and these details can significantly increase a coin's value. Collectors also look closely for quarters with deep mirror-like proof surfaces, which are especially rare because proof coins from that year were not officially issued for circulation, only special mint sets were produced. However, some brilliant uncirculated coins have been found that resemble proof quality, making them highly desirable. Another key factor that affects the value is the coin's condition, graded on a scale by professional services such as PCGS or NGC. Most 1967 quarters you'll find in circulation are heavily worn and may only be worth face value, but those in uncirculated or mint state condition can fetch impressive sums. Coins graded MS65 and above already start to attract attention, but when you reach the highest mint states, MS-67 or MS-68, that's where the real money comes in. These coins exhibit pristine surfaces, full luster, and nearly perfect details with no signs of wear or damage. Error coins are where things get even more interesting. Collectors have discovered 1967 quarters struck on dime planchets, double die obverse where the inscriptions or the date appear doubled, and even coins that were misaligned during striking. Each of these errors can make a huge difference in value, turning what looks like a regular quarter into a coin worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. In fact, some coins have sold for astonishing amounts at auctions due to these rare minting mistakes combined with exceptional condition. Imagine finding one of these 1967 quarters sitting in your old collection box or in your grandparents' drawer, a coin that has been passed through countless hands over the decades, now potentially worth far more than anyone ever expected. Collectors around the world are constantly searching for these gems, knowing that only a handful exist in top-grade condition. The thrill of discovering one of these coins makes coin collecting such an exciting hobby, blending history, mystery, and real monetary value into one fascinating pursuit. So, if you come across a Washington quarter from 1967, take a moment to inspect it carefully. Look for those fine details, check the surfaces for shine and sharpness, and if it looks unusually perfect, don't spend it, you might just be holding on to something extraordinary. Sending your coin for professional grading is always a smart move, as certification not only verifies its authenticity but also establishes its grade, which can greatly enhance its market value. The market for rare coins has been growing steadily, and modern collectors are paying top dollar for coins with historic significance and limited high-quality examples. While most 1967 quarters might not be worth more than face value, the exceptional ones, those rare specimens with mint errors, pristine luster, and proof-like qualities, can surprise you with how much they command at auction. And yes, believe it or not, one particularly rare 1967 Washington quarter dollar has sold for an unbelievable amount, a stunning $58,000 in words. Today we're uncovering the story behind one of the most fascinating coins in American history, the United States of America Washington quarter dollar from 1971. At first glance, it might look like just another ordinary coin, but this quarter hides secrets that most people overlook. Some rare examples of the 1971 Washington quarter have shocked collectors and auction houses with their surprising value, and if you're lucky enough to find the right one, you might be holding something truly special. Let's go back in time to understand what makes this coin so interesting. The year 1971 marked the beginning of a new era for the U.S. Mint. By then, silver coins were officially a thing of the past, and the mint had transitioned to the copper-nickel-clad composition that continues to this day. The earlier silver quarters had been hoarded, and many people were still adjusting to the new metal look and lighter weight of the clad coins. However, during this transition, the mint encountered several striking errors, unusual die varieties, and test strikes that would eventually become some of the rarest and most desirable coins in modern American numismatics. The Washington quarter has been an iconic symbol of American coinage since it was first introduced in 1932, commemorating the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. By 1971, the design still featured the same portrait of Washington on the obverse and the majestic bald eagle on the reverse. But even though the design stayed the same, the subtle differences in die quality, striking pressure, and minting process from year to year created fascinating varieties that collectors now chase with great enthusiasm. The 1971 quarters were struck at multiple mints, primarily in Philadelphia and Denver, which you can identify by the small D mint mark on the obverse for Denver minted coins. The Philadelphia coins, on the other hand, carry no mint mark at all. Both versions are collectible, but certain errors from these mints have made some coins extremely rare and valuable. For instance, some 1971 D quarters were struck on silver planchets accidentally left over from previous coin runs. These coins can be easily distinguished by their lighter color, slightly higher weight, and a different metallic ring when dropped. Because they contain silver, and because they were not supposed to exist, these coins are highly sought after and have fetched impressive sums at auctions, but that's not all. There are also 1971 quarters that exhibit fascinating die errors such as double strikes, broad strikes, off-center minting, and die clashes where design elements appear ghosted on the opposite side of the coin. Each of these errors tells a story about what went wrong during the minting process and how that mistake turned an everyday coin into a collectible treasure. One of the most talked about varieties is the double die obverse, where the date or the word liberty appears slightly doubled. If you ever find one of these in good condition, don't spend it. You could be holding onto something very rare. Another factor that makes the 1971 Washington quarter special is the grading condition. Most quarters from this period were heavily circulated, and finding one in pristine, uncirculated condition is a challenge. Over time, the sharpness of Washington's hair, the details of the eagle's feathers, and the luster of the coin fade away due to handling. Collectors specifically look for coins in high mint state grades, MS65, MS67, and above, because they display brilliant shine and almost no scratches or contact marks. These coins, when professionally graded and encapsulated by services like PCGS or NGC, can bring in stunning prices at auctions. In recent years, the popularity of coin collecting has exploded, and the Washington Quarter series has become one of the most beloved sets among hobbyists and investors. The 1971 quarter, in particular, has gained attention due to its transitional position in U.S. coinage history and the rarity of certain minting errors. Some of these coins have even appeared in estate collections, garage sales, and old coin jars, discovered purely by chance. Imagine the excitement of realizing that a coin you've had for decades is worth far more than its face value. Let's not forget that the aesthetics of the 1971 quarter also hold historical significance. The portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan, continues to represent strength and leadership, while the reverse eagle symbolizes freedom and national pride. Together, they make this coin more than just currency. It's a piece of American heritage, a small metallic time capsule from a turning point in our nation's coinage story. For collectors, finding a perfectly preserved 1971 Washington quarter with a bright, mirror-like finish and sharp details can be a dream come true. Such coins, when coupled with unique mint errors or exceptional strike quality, are considered top-tier collectibles. Some have even sold for amounts that seem unbelievable for a 25-cent coin, but that's the beauty of numismatics. The smallest treasures can hold the biggest surprises. So, the next time you come across a 1971 Washington quarter, don't rush to spend it. Take a close look at the details. Examine the edges, the shine, the surface texture, and even the sound it makes when dropped on a hard surface. If something about it feels different or unique, it could be worth a second look, and perhaps a professional appraisal. Because within that tiny, round piece of metal could be a coin that turns your change into a fortune. And yes, believe it or not, one rare 1971 Washington quarter dollar with exceptional quality and rarity once sold for a breathtaking $68,000 in words. So always check your coins carefully, because you never know when an ordinary quarter might reveal itself to be a hidden treasure from American history.